Hey there. Welcome everyone for a new The Art of Freedom. Hey Marcus.
Hello, Florencia. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've been listening to your show with you and Rebel, and I've been really enjoying it. So I was, of course, delighted to be invited to be on your show.
Thank you so much. Today Rebel won't be able to join us. He will be coming back to the show next week. So for today we'll have to miss him again, and you'll have to bear with me as I read the block height number. So the block height right now is 848,372 blocks.
Nice.
So I think you are a guy who doesn't need an introduction. So many, I think everyone has seen your Bitcoin roller coaster guy. Well, you're the creator, but I think maybe some people are new to the space, or in case someone hasn't doesn't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Marcus Connor, and yeah, the thing I'm most well known for in the space is creating the Bitcoin roller coaster guy. It's just an animated GIF, and I created him back in early 2013. Uh, I had gotten into Bitcoin, and you don't have to be in Bitcoin long before you learn about the roller coaster, right? The price, taking our emotions on a crazy ride. Um, yeah, so I created that GIF. I shared it a couple places, and then lo and behold, at first nobody cared. Uh, but lo and behold, some people started sharing it and remixing it, and took him on all these new adventures. And he became a popular meme in the space. So I did actually create a little bit of Bitcoin art prior to that, and I created some after that. But then I guess I was out of the space for a while and kind of came back in terms of creating art anyway. And yeah, I've been enjoying the last number of years. Been enjoying creating new Bitcoin art and getting to know you and so many other wonderful Bitcoin artists. It's been and not just meeting the artists, but meeting all the everybody in the space is just really fun. But yes, that's who I am. And and I am actively creating Bitcoin art.
Yeah, I think that the roller coaster guy is part of, it's not just, it's part of Bitcoin history, to be honest, right now. It's like, I remember when I first saw it and I was new to Bitcoin. It really was one of the first things I remember seeing, and when I was just entering the space. And it was such an important piece because it conveys a message, like it's clear, like this roller coaster going up and down, but it's also so done so in a friendly way, like the aesthetics you use is very particular, it's very unique, and it's easy to relate to, I think. And that's why I think it's such an important piece, and not only of Bitcoin art history, but I think of, I don't know, like cultural, it will be like pop culture history, I think.
Well, thanks. I mean, I'm of course. I feel very fortunate and delighted that that he has a space, and a place in Bitcoin ethos and history. That's amazing. And for me at the time when I did create him, I was actually creating. I had a daily web comic where I drew a single panel comic and just put it on my website. That was called Brainless Tales, and I was doing that every single day, and I did that for 9 years straight, never missed a day. So I was, at the time, I was very, very into drawing, and most my art like that, I draw it with a pen on paper, then I scan it into the computer and colorize there. But I was very, very into creating art every single day at that point, and so I was always looking for new inspiration for my comic, and that just kind of spoke to me. That it just, of course, I was in Bitcoin, so I had already created. in 2012, I did one of my comics. It was called Bitcoin on my website. But then when I created the roller coaster guy, I knew I wanted to animate it, and I knew I wanted to use some specific colors, and it didn't really fit exactly to the theme of my comic. So it wasn't actually part of my daily webcomic, just because I wanted to make it a little bit different. And I was really just doing it to share with Bitcoiners. And I thought that Bitcoiners would enjoy it. That's why I made it. I made it for Bitcoiners with the idea that I think Bitcoiners are going to like this. That's why I made it. Um, just the inspiration and to share it. So yeah, I put my logo of my comic on there just as a signature of sorts. I think it's with my comic, even I would put my website URL at the bottom, and that acted as a signature. Sometimes with the internet art, you have to find a way to get your signature on there, and often a web URL is better than a signature because it allows somebody to find you more easily, and of course identify who made this. So yeah, thanks. It's I just to say that I have been an artist my whole life. My father was an artist. He got a master's in fine arts, and he was an artist and a musician. He was a professional musician as well. And so I inherited a lot of creativity from him and from my mother's side as well, from designers that were in my mother's side of the family. So um, just Bitcoin was important, and it obviously is important, and that's why I did it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
I hear you. I think it's very beautiful. And yeah, I remember you saying that you came from an artist family, and that's so. It's well, I don't know. It's kind of rare. I think I don't know. For me, it's like the opposite. My whole family are like engineers and I don't know doctors. So yeah, but I think it's amazing. Like, did you create something with them? Have you ever?
well, from an early age, my father taught me a lot, about art and music, and we of course did projects and things together. So for sure. I mean, my father was definitely the largest influence on me. But I was fortunate that I had some really great teachers growing up when I was really young as well. Like even in elementary school when I was just a little kid, I had an amazing art teacher. This guy Bob Patillo. He wasn't just an artist. He was also a working professional artist. And if you look him up, his name is Bob Patillo, Petillo. He's still today creating art, amazing pieces. He's doing these like reflective car paintings now, but he used to do like a lot of book cover art and album like rock band t-shirt art and all kinds of fun things. And my father became friends with him very quickly. But yeah, so I mean, definitely being growing up with a creative family and around creative people definitely was always helpful. I mean, my other people in my family very creative as well, so it
That's so
it
cool.
definitely helps.
And I'm going back to this comic you were creating at that time. So you did 9 years every day without skipping a day?
I'm sorry. I can you repeat the question? My phone started ringing. I'm sorry,
Ah, no
and then I
problem.
missed the question.
Don't worry. It's just about this comic you were creating at the time when you created the roller coaster guy. So you did 9 years every single day, like you didn't skip a day, like
That's right.
Christmas
I
or like, I don't know.
Yeah, yes, I what I'll say is this: I published a comic every single day, and I never missed a day of publishing. And I actually, I'm also a web designer and developer, so I actually hand coded like the way my site worked and everything. So I sometimes I would get ahead, so I might do a couple comics in one day and get them loaded up and ready to go. So if I knew I had something coming like Christmas or I was going on vacation, I would work extra hard before that to get ahead of myself, and then uh, and then by the time it was I was back, I would have to get to work again. But it wasn't like a luxury of being ahead. It was difficult. It was very very difficult to do and stay committed to doing that every day because even if I got ahead, well, that a few days goes by in the blink of an eye, and now I'm not ahead anymore. And I spent a lot of late nights just hashing something out real quick, to make sure I had something because that was the goal, was to not miss a day, and I succeeded, and that's why after doing it for 9 years, I said, all right, enough of this, I mean,
But it's super
because
impressive. Hmm.
well, thank you. I mean, it was an art project, and it was a goal and a project I assigned to myself. I didn't really make money from it. I made a little bit of advertising money, but that barely even covered like the hosting cost, So it was not like, I've always done what I wanted to do with art. I've never been guided too much by dollars so much when it comes to art, because I want to stay true to myself in terms of art. And so, obviously, I do make money selling Bitcoin art, but I love every bit of it, and I do the things I want to do. That for sure. And but yes, it was a difficult thing. It was very very difficult. I worked really hard at keeping that comic going because I went through some really tough things in my life during that. I mean, my father, unfortunately, he died. While I was still making my comic, and I knew that he was going to. He was very sick, and I actually drew some comics while I was sitting with my father when he was in hospice. Only you know I guess only maybe 1 or 2 days before he died. And those comics, now when I look at Brainless Tales, I know which ones they are, of course, and they remind me of that moment. um, and luckily, since I was spending that time with my father and drawing those while I was there with him, I got them. I went home and got them finished and uploaded, and luckily then that put me a little ahead, because then when he did die, I certainly was not in any mood to be drawing comics, but I was ahead at that point, because I had spent time with him and drawing them while I was with him.
Yeah,
So that
that's
was really
so.
difficult, but
Yeah. Sorry.
but it yeah, but no, but it was nice. It's nice to be able to, that even they're very bittersweet for me to look at, um, but it's that's just how life is. Life goes on until it doesn't. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beautiful part of having such a long project. It's that, of course, in 9 years, so many things are going to happen. And was it like this, like when you started creating that, sorry, that comic? So was it the goal to do 9 years? How did you like? How did you got yourself into that project?
well, this is a good question. I didn't have a specific time frame in mind, but prior to that, I actually had a website where I was using the old stuff called Flash. If anybody remembers Flash, I was using Flash to create like animated uh, comics, like animated like cartoons and video games, essentially online. For online, and I had a website for that, but creating those things were really really time consuming and took me a tremendous amount of effort and time. And then I would don't my output was very low because I would put so much time into one. And so having that creative outlet kind of led me to say like, oh well, I was inspired by seeing other web comics being successful, and I thought, oh, that seems like a more satisfying thing, to be able to do something every day. And so I didn't have a time frame. I just knew that I wanted to publish it every day until I couldn't anymore. And it's funny because like at the end of like the first year, I think I made a comic that basically said, "I'm all out of ideas," And that was the comic, and it was the truth. I was out of ideas. But the funny thing about ideas is you get new ones all the time. So you just have to go. Sometimes you have to look a little harder than other times for those ideas. And
Yeah,
certainly if you get one, you got to write it down right away before you forget it.
yeah,
So
that's
no,
cool.
yeah,
Sorry,
sorry,
that
but yeah, just
inspiration. Go ahead.
yeah, but sorry, just to say that I didn't have a time frame. It was just that when I got close to 9 years, I knew I wanted to be done with it at that point. So, I did have the goal of doing full years. I didn't want to stop and do like 8.5 years. I didn't want to do that. I knew I wanted to make it to a full
Hmm.
year marker, because specifically I knew from the beginning, because the very first comic was a lamp, and he said, I think it's on, it's on. One of my friends always says that, it's on, like that. And so that was my first comic, was this lamp saying it's on. And I knew from the moment I created that first comic that I knew what the last comic would be. It would be the lamp saying it's off, you
Hmm.
know. That would be, so I each year I would redraw the lamp comic saying something different. Wasn't always funny, but that was just what I wanted to do. So each year on the year anniversary, I would redraw the lamp, and then on the last one, it's off.
That's a beautiful.
So that I did know. Well,
And
thank
people can people read it? Like,
Yeah, yep. If you just if anybody goes to brainlesstales.com, they can see all the comics there. If you scroll down, they're in reverse order. That's just how it works. At the top, it'll show one from like 8 years ago. Well, no, at this point, no, I'm past 8 years. So, uh, it's like, you know, I don't know, bunch of years back. I don't know, something, but it'll show an old comic at the top. But there's an archive. You can look through the archive, or or even just search it on Pinterest and things like that, and you'll find some groups of stuff. So
that's very amazing. That's a hardcore proof of work, I think, to have done,
thank you.
to have achieved that. Yeah, I love it. Especially today, because I think one of the things I see a lot, or I believe, is that fiat has robbed us from time. So people, it's hard to find time, but it's not just the physical, like, oh, people are working a lot and they have to earn this fiat and whatever, but it's also like culturally we are drawn to like watch a lot of these Netflix series and do those kind of stuff that are not really inspiring. And I think, yeah, what we have lost maybe some of these pieces that need a lot of time to work, to just be, because it wouldn't have been the same even if you had done like the same amount of pages in, I don't know, like in one day, whatever. It's not the same as you posting each day a new piece of it. So I don't know, what are your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think you make a really great point, that time is so important, and that's what Bitcoin is trying to give us back, is our time, right? Because we all know there's the famous saying, "Time is money," and the fiat world, you're right, is robbing us of our time, because it's robbing us of our money. So by robbing us of our money, of our value that we want to hold on to, it's stealing our time, because we've spent the time to earn that money. And it's an unjust, it's an unfair, and it's a dishonest money, to fiat money. It is not what money should be. And the people who run, like, the Federal Reserve in the United States, they know that it's by design, because money used to be better. And but now money is great, because it's Bitcoin is money. But you're right, it's all about time, and that's what Bitcoin is, right? It's this time chain, ongoing, keeping track. You started with the block height. That's how we keep track of time now. We stamp them with the time chain with Bitcoin block height. So yeah, it is about time, and time is our most precious resource, right? Because we each have a limited amount of time here to enjoy life. So let's
Yeah.
maximize that, right? So
Yeah. So you started saying that that comic wasn't actually like about Bitcoin, but I would say it can be Bitcoin art. So we sometimes in this show we talk about what is Bitcoin art. So when I think about the proof of work you put into that, and the time like itself, like and this being consistent for 9 years, I think that already makes it kind of a Bitcoin piece.
Well, I was naturally a Bitcoiner, even before Bitcoin existed. Because the reason I knew and found out about Bitcoin was because number one, I appreciated and valued freedom and liberty. The idea that I'm my own person and other people should not be able to dictate how and why and where I do things, right? Now, if I make agreements, that's one thing, then yes, hold me to my agreements. But each of us should be a free person, free to make our own choices in life. And so I learned about the issues with fiat money quite a long time ago. And so I was already interested in learning about alternative currencies when I first learned about Bitcoin fairly early on. And I thought, oh, well, that's a good idea. But in all honesty, when I first heard about it, I thought, yeah, it's a good idea. But I was already knew about a number of alternative currencies that had come and gone. So I wasn't like, I didn't instantly believe that it was going to be the thing. Um, but I did think it was another good idea. And so, yeah, in some of my comics, a lot of them are just silly puns, wordplay, that kind of thing. But occasionally I would slip in something to the idea of freedom or just the joke that is voting and things like that. And even there's even some, at least one or a couple about money and things like that. So yes, it was not explicit, and there was a few where I actually did include Bitcoin in the comics, right? So as early as 2012, I had one where I mentioned Bitcoin in it. So
And can do you have those also in the same website or in
yes,
different?
yeah,
Mhm.
there was the first one. It really, honestly, it wasn't a great joke, but I was all about wordplay, and I was trying to find like what's funny about Bitcoin, and I kind of took the the bit, to be like bitten, as if you had been bitten. And at the time, zombies were all the rage, and I did this Bitcoin. The coin was bitten, and it was a zombie coin, something like that. So that was like my first one, and I'm sure a lot of people that read my comic probably didn't even know about Bitcoin at the time because it was, that was maybe October 2012, something like that. But yeah, so those are there. There's a couple in there that have Bitcoin in them.
That's amazing. Like you have been here, you have seen all the ups and downs you have been on the roller coaster for so long.
I have, and the price of admission is not high, right? Just buy some Bitcoin, and now you're on the roller coaster. You
Mhm.
know.
It's true. So about that, I asked before earlier, like what people would like to ask you, and there was one question that repeated, and it was made by Javier, my brother, and also by Cypher, who is with us now, and they were wondering, what is your favorite roller coaster in the real world?
That's a good question. Um, I do enjoy roller coasters. I'll have to say, I'm not a roller coaster fanatic, but I do enjoy them. When I was a kid, went to Disney World in Florida and always enjoyed what is it? The one that it's the mining one. Geez, I can't even think of it. But um, that one's fun. But there's a few in New Jersey. It used to be called Great Adventure, then it became a Six Flags Great Adventure. They have some really crazy roller coasters there. But I think my favorite one would have to be there is a wooden roller coaster in Pennsylvania. And I don't know the name of that particular roller coaster, but it's at a place called Knoebels. And it's just a small, fun, like they have a campground and just this small little amusement park there. And it's very family oriented. And, went there with my best friend and his family as a kid. And so I think that one, as far as like, like it just has a place in my heart. So I would say that one.
Nice, nice answer. So going back to your to the Bitcoin roller coaster guy, I
Hmm.
wonder how do you feel about what's your perspective on like I don't know how to say this in English, but like image property. Like, do you believe
Sure.
that? Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're saying. Basically, you're saying about like intellectual property.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of laws in the United States and all over the world regarding intellectual property, and I have, I guess, I'll say mixed feelings about it. And you know, I what I would say is this: number one, you know, even though I created the original artwork for the roller coaster guy, I didn't make him into a meme because the definition of a meme is when people share a joke or an idea over and over again. So a meme literally can only be created by the people, right? Like you need a large number of people, or at least a certain number of people, to be sharing something over and over again, remixing it, this kind of thing, for something to become a meme. So if I was telling people, no, don't share my artwork or don't change it and don't like, that would be silly, right? Like, because that's how people know it, is from it becoming a meme, from people sharing it, changing it, and all that. And I love that. And like, anytime anybody wants to take some of my art and like switch it around, as long as it's respectful, you know, um, go for it. Have fun, share it online. Great. I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, on my website on bitcoincoaster.com, people can go to, I made a new page called GIFs, and people can go and download the images right there. I give you a button to download it. So try to make it as easy as possible for people to download the artwork I create so that they can share it and do what they want with it, within reason. But there's certain things that I don't think people should do, and then certain things I don't want people to do. So like, if somebody wants to sell something with my artwork on it, I do think that they should have my permission and we should have an agreement for that. And I think that goes beyond laws, right? So I'm not really talking about what law is and all that. But when I buy something, no matter where I buy it, if I I go with the assumption that, if I'm buying a work of art, that the artist is compensated. That's just what people expect. Like, if you go to a store, you buy some music, or not that people are buying music in a store that often, but when you buy something, you expect that the people that help to make this are being compensated. That's the expectation. And so if people take the artwork and then they sell it without compensating the artist and do it without permission, I just think it's wrong. It's not about what the law is or isn't. It's just wrong in my eyes. And I have a general rule in life. It's, you know, I'll make it a little softer. Don't be a jerk, right? Just be nice, like be thoughtful. And when I created Brainless Tales, my comic, people did take the artwork and they, without my permission, they made T-shirts and things and sold that. Um, and I would find out about this here and there, but I'm not gonna like go on a rampage about it. It's just, I just don't think people should do it. That's all.
Yeah.
If they want to do it, then just talk to me, and you know
Yeah.
otherwise that's my general thought. Like, I don't, growing up, one of the things my mom used to say is, we don't sue people. um that's what she would say. We don't sue people. Like, there's a lot of kids have this idea, like, they get it in their head because they hear, like, on TV or whatever, like, I'm gonna sue you. Like, kids just say this like a silly thing, right? But that's like, that's some serious stuff when you get into to all that. And it's not something I'm a big fan of. I'm not saying that people should use the legal system when it's appropriate. I'm not judging anybody for using the legal system. I certainly will and would use it at the appropriate times. But generally speaking, like, if people are doing it in with the right intentions and just being upfront about it, cool. Share
Yeah.
share it, remix it, do something fun with it. Even if somebody wants to just take my art and, like, I've had some people ask me, like, hey, can I buy a print of this specific thing, or can I get a T-shirt of this specific thing? And I don't have that. And so I just say, like, you can just take that, and you have my permission to print one or two, just for yourself or for a gift, but just please don't sell it. But I don't have a problem if somebody wants to take something of mine, and just get it printed for themselves or whatever. Go for it. Like, if I'm not selling it, print it out. Hang it up. Whatever you want to do. It's fine with
Yeah.
me. As long as it's not like going and selling a bunch of them. So
Yeah, absolutely. I also have like mixed feelings about it. You know that in art history, like there wasn't a concept of like forgery. So the masterpieces were there, and artists would copy them to learn, to teach their students, and also to sell them. Like if there was a piece that everyone knew it was amazing, so other artists that weren't maybe that famous or whatever would go and copy that art so that they could sell them in their own local town or whatever. So I do struggle with the idea because from one side it's like I want to live out of art, like I want to be able to survive in this world by creating stuff, and from the other side is like I don't want to own something that's like an idea. Like I think ideas and images should be like we should build on top of that. Like and what I also see sometimes is like if I did something and other person is like using that image for something, and maybe they're doing it better than I did. So maybe I have to step up my game, like I got these weird feelings, but I know what you mean. Like I would be very sad as I face that. Like I haven't had that problem, but I think I would be very sad. But at the same time, as you said, like I wouldn't involve like a legal thing into it. Like, it's a very weird field.
yes, I really appreciate what you're saying, and it is something. When you create something, whatever it is, you have a special feelings about the thing that you've created, and so it can feel weird, when something happens with that, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of, takes a little time to think about it, and there was somebody repainted my roller coaster guy, and framed it. I think he framed it, and he did use like some gold leaf on it and stuff. Um, I put that on. I have that on my website right now. Like showcasing that, as just something somebody was inspired to do. So I'm not opposed to, if somebody's inspired by my art and wants to, redo it in their way, to show, that's cool.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, no, I understand. Like it's a weird topic, but I really wanted to hear your opinion because I went into your website and I saw that you were like offering the gifts like to download really easily, and I thought you might have like a I don't know, like not the usual opinion about it. So I yeah appreciate and I love to hear your thoughts in these matters. It's super. What I love about these spaces is like I learn so much from each artist and from their own perspective. It's yeah, it's really
Yeah.
special.
Yes. Yes. It really is. It is one of the very awesome things about Bitcoiners is speaking to different Bitcoiners, whether they're artists or not, and seeing what they think about things in the world, and get different perspectives. And
Mhm.
and anything that I think today, my mind might change tomorrow. I'm not. I try my best to live my life in a way that I don't get too hung up on my existing beliefs. I try to keep an open mind as much as I can. That maybe I'm wrong. I have been wrong before. I probably will be wrong in the future about some things. So try to keep an open mind as much as I can about things that I might change my mind.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that I don't know if everyone, but I feel like that's something I can see in many Bitcoiners, and maybe that's the reason why we could enter Bitcoin, like some earlier, some later. But you have to have an open mind to understand this magic internet money, I think.
Yes, yes, you certainly do. It's but hopefully, I think some of the hardest hurdles maybe are just that are the existing, the existing ideas that are broadcast to people as they grow up. That's usually the hard thing, when something is so different from what you've learned your whole life. You grow up, meaning anybody, grows up and thinks like they're taught like this is money, the money that the government makes, that's money. Um, but if sometimes you can learn. Now, I was lucky. My father taught me some stuff about money, and then fairly early on, I did some research and learned about the evolution of money, like specifically in the United States, how it was once based on gold and silver, and how even our coins, they looked just like the coins we have today, the quarter and the dime. So 25 cents and the 10 cents, they used to be made from majority silver. So that up until 1964, I think it was, the coins were mostly silver. Then they changed to basically junk metal, cheap stuff. And some of the dollar bills and stuff were silver certificates, they were called, or gold certificates. And so they were backed by these precious metals, and some of the coins, they literally were the metals. So I learned about that, and I understood that there was a change, and that the old stuff was better than the new stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I want to go to talk about your new mural there in Nashville. But before I ask you about that, I want people to let you know, guys, that you can always talk to us. This is an open conversation. If anyone has any question and wants to talk, please send a thingy here so that I can accept you. So Marcus, about that mural, like how was the process of creating that? I think I read that you weren't there like when they were painting it. So how was like the whole process of creation?
yeah, right. So this was like an amazing thing. The some of the people there at Bitcoin Magazine, they reached out and said, "Hey, we would like to do this mural. Would you be interested in doing a mural?" And at first, we didn't have it worked out that I wouldn't paint it, and I honestly was very, very worried about painting it because I've never painted a mural, and I would love to paint a mural, but this thing is huge. It's like, it's the whole side of a building, 20 feet high, 45 feet long. I don't know what that is in meters, but it's big. And so I I was talking with I was communicating a lot with Dennis at Bitcoin Magazine, and he I told him, like, we're talking really about like time frames, and I was like, well, I don't know if I can get down there to do it. And that's when he had the idea, or somebody there had the idea, like, hey, we can actually, hire somebody that's like a, professional company to come and paint it. You just have to design it. So for that, it would like worked out really, really well for me, because I probably would have lost money on it if I had to paint it myself. Dealing with weather and everything, and having to travel all the way to Nashville, which is a 2-day drive for me. Um, so yeah, so that's what it worked out to be, and they gave me lots of liberty, creative freedom in what I decided to do. Worked with them a little bit. We had a little bit of back and forth, and everybody was super happy, I think, with the outcome. With what I ended up designing. But yeah, I just had to do the artwork for the space, and then I actually vectorized it. I scanned my artwork really high res and vectorized it for the company that did the actual painting, and they hired a professional company that does murals to do the final painting. So that was really exciting for me to see that. And I see Tommy's here. He took photos and did video with the drone of it, which was super cool. But yeah, it was really, really fun to do that. So, and it, you know,
Is this something you would be open to do again, like more murals in this way, like commission it, or I don't know?
yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I would love to do like paint a mural myself, not one that big, because I like I said, I think that would be too big for me to do by myself. Not having mural experience, but maybe like I would love to do, like, for sure I would definitely be open to a commission to design a mural. And I would like to do maybe like an inside mural or something on a wall somewhere would be fun to do, like where I could actually paint it myself. I would
Mhm.
really like to do something like that. It would be really cool, I think.
So we were talking the other day, and you are going to be in Nashville for the conference, right?
Yes,
So, is there a possibility to take a picture with you in the mural?
absolutely. Yes. I booked my hotel and I'm staying right near the mural.
That's so cool.
um, so I'm definitely planning on. I'll check it out. This way I can visit the mural like every day when I'm there. So yeah, it would be fun. Maybe we'll do a get together, or maybe we can do like a broadcast or something from there, or just take pictures or whatever, something like that for sure. That would be really fun. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to be there. It'll be great to see you again. Saw you in Miami, so look
Yeah,
forward to
it's been
that.
a while. That was like 2022, I think I went there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to be there again, and I'm very lucky that it's in a new city, so I get to see another place there in the States. So that's also very fortunate.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't mind, what I would like to talk about something that kind of comes from that
Mhm.
when last year when I was in Miami at the conference, at the end of the conference, they announced that the conference would be in Nashville, Tennessee. I've never actually even been to Nashville, Tennessee, so I was super excited because I was like, oh wow, I get to go to a new place. But I was also inspired, and it actually, the location inspired my art project, which I have been working on for many, many, many months. That I'll be bringing to Nashville. So I
Can you tell
yeah.
us about some more about that project, or is it like super secret project?
Yeah, no, it's been super secret, but yeah, I think I'm ready to talk about it. So I knew right away when I heard that it was in Nashville. I knew Nashville. It's called Music City, and so I knew this right away. And I thought, oh, I would love to do something with a guitar or with music. Um, and not only am I a visual artist, but I am a musician as well. And I used to be in a band for many years and done some recording and things like that. So I had some different ideas around this when I learned about Nashville. And after maybe a few days, or maybe it was even over a week or 2 weeks or something, I ended up deciding that what I really wanted to do, and I made this decision basically last summer. So well, a year ago. Not summer for you, summer for me. you you live in the southern hemisphere, right? So you're going into the winter now. We're going into the summer. Um, but about a year ago, I had this idea that I would write and record a record about money and Bitcoin, and so that's what I have spent the last like 10 months working on. So I'm my main instrument is I play guitar. But I like to sing. I'm not a great singer, but I like to sing, and I can play some other instruments. And so yeah, I got to work on writing and recording some songs, inspired about money and Bitcoin specifically. And then I ended up setting up a recording studio in my house. I turned my whole living room into a recording studio. And I do play drums as well. So I brought my drums up and set them up in my living room. So nobody was coming over to relax in my living room. And yeah, I recorded, ended up recording 7 songs, and I'll be releasing them as an album digitally, so that that'll be streaming. Anybody will be able to listen to it. But I'm having vinyl records pressed. I'm doing limited release, like as like the initial release. They'll all be numbered and signed. Be about 100 of them. I actually haven't gotten them yet, so they're with the pressing plant. So I don't actually know the exact number because there's an overage underage kind of thing where they start off trying to do 110 with the idea that they're probably going to mess up a number of them. So I might get more than 100 or as few as 90. It's just how that they work with that process. So so about 100 of them anyway. And yeah, I'll number them and sign them, and I'll have those for sale at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And actually, they will be able to, the Bitcoin magazine, they're going to sell them for me right at their store. So if anybody's going to the Nashville conference and wants to buy the record, they'll be for sale right at the store. You won't have to come to me. So it'll be really cool. So I'm super excited about this because it's a crazy endeavor. Just to give you an idea, I played all the instruments, did everything. I recorded it myself, which was challenging. I had to become a recording engineer, but I played drums, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, bass. I did all the singing, and I wrote everything. And yeah, did everything pretty much myself. I had a lot of help with the recording remotely from my good friend who ended up producing the record for me. He my friend Dave Raphael. He actually like mailed me equipment to use, and he's like a professional in the industry, in the recording industry, and he helped me a bunch. But yeah, I did. Of course, I did artwork for the album cover and everything, and it's been a ridiculous project. I'll just have to say, I ended up spending so much time on this. Uh, this is a thing that I did because I love doing it, and I know, it's like in terms of like the time spent on this, it's not even something that financially I would. It doesn't make sense financially for me to have done this. So it
But it's
wasn't. That wasn't what it was about. It was just, I was inspired, and as an artist, I just had to go with that, with that inspiration of doing this ridiculous thing. So
Yeah, but you never know. And I think art is never real art is never born from a rational financial decision. Like that doesn't make art. Like oh, it's always like, why am I doing this again? It's because you need to. It's because you have to. Like you cannot explain it maybe. And sometimes it really well it works out super and well you get your money back. You earn. And
yeah,
I this sorry, but this sounds amazing. Like I cannot believe that like you have so many skills, like moving from the visual arts into music. That's really, really amazing. I mean, you said you have been like near music your whole life, but for me it's like I'm really bad with music. Like I love to hear it, but I don't understand how people can do that. Like it's for me it's like magic. And so it's unbelievable to be like yeah to be able and not just to like to do it properly and to get deep into it like for so many months and again like the proof of work, man, like that's really impressive.
thank you. Yeah. Um, no, I mean, you understand very well being an artist, right? Like when you decide to do Bitcoin art, didn't you yourself encounter people that said, "What are you doing?" Right? Like you had that, right? Like people
Yeah,
said, like,
yeah,
why are
every
you
day.
doing this?" Right?
Yeah.
But you found that inspiration there, right? And so that was, I have done music for a very long time, and again, my father was a professional musician, so I got that as well from him. So he was an artist and a musician, so I got a lot of that from him. And so yeah, it was, I kind of had it was one of these things where I have, even though I'll play a little bit of music every day, whether it's drums or guitar or something. Usually every day I'll pick it up for a few minutes. But I had really been wanting to do more with music. And this was like, it just struck me like, oh, this is what I want to do now. And, I have recorded albums before. When I was in a band when I was younger, we did two albums, that we recorded together. But that's a very different thing when you have a lot of other people helping and working together. And I have done outside of that band as well. I have done an album by myself, but still at a studio with my friend Dave. He had a studio. He produced it and recorded and engineered the whole thing. So, and mixed it and everything. When I did it that way, still I had somebody else there to do it. This time, it was quite ridiculous because here I was at home doing everything myself, and it was quite challenging because I would have to switch my brain from sitting at the computer with all my microphones plugged in and engineering, and then say, okay, now I got to go sit at the drums and actually perform and play. And now I've got to go and sit and pick up my guitar and play that, and then go back to the computer. So there was like this switching of the brain from the creative of the performance of the music to the engineering, and being sort of newish to the engineering side, getting a lot of help remotely. It was a challenge.
Yeah, I believe you. This is very, very amazing. And I didn't get it, but are you performing live?
Well, yeah. So the way since on the record, I perform everything on that's on the record is performed by me.
Mhm.
So each thing, is I didn't use any like electronic instruments or anything like that. I played, live acoustic drums and regular acoustic guitars, electric guitar, bass, that kind of thing. Um, but each part, of course, I had to record each part separately by itself. And so, that's in and of itself a challenge in that process. It's not something I'm going to talk about the minutia of that, but it's a challenge. But I have, in the past, I have performed live by myself, like kind of as a one man band, and you know this stuff that I recorded wasn't recorded with that idea, but certainly I could perform it to some degree, myself.
Hmm. But that's not planned for for Nashville now.
I mean, uh, it's it's not 100% planned, but it is possible. It's a possibility. It has come up, so yeah, it has come up as a possibility. So I don't have like a definite on that, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
would love to hear it. So, well, this was a surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting music when you told me, like, I've been working for a project, like, for I don't know how many months now. This is very,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think a lot of people will be surprised, and maybe some people will be disappointed. I don't know, but
No.
there is visual along with it, and it's just something different, and as just being a creative person, I just don't want to be, I don't want to limit myself too much, and if I have the inspiration, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Um, One of the benefits of doing this, by myself, though, of course, and recording it at home, was that I was able to spend, way too much time on some of these things. So if I was recording a part and I wasn't too sure about it, I could really spend a lot of time on that part, and go back again and again, because I wasn't, paying, like in the past, if I went to a studio, you're paying
Hmm.
by the hour to be there, so you better be ready.
Yeah.
Um, Although with this process, honestly, I wasn't ready because I didn't have anybody to practice with, so I kind of had to figure some of this stuff out as I was recording it. So sometimes it would use some of that almost as the practice before getting to the a final take on something or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
I find that when you work alone, like from one side, like you may be able to get like your whole vision into the piece. From the other side, when you collaborate, some things get easier. Like, yeah, it won't be like exactly how you imagine it, but you share like the work and the perspectives. And sometimes when you're like stuck, if you're working with someone else, it's like maybe they can take you out of that place or like help move the thing, you know?
Yes, I agree, and I did have two people really help me a lot with this project, even though I was at home doing it by myself. I've already mentioned my friend Dave Raphael. He is the producer on the record. Like I said, he helped me tremendously with the recording process, getting the right sounds, especially with the drums, which was particularly tricky. But he walked me through it, and I kept sending him recordings, and he would say, "Okay, move this. What's that sound? Hey, I hear this. Change that. Do this. Turn that knob." But also my friend Josh Bobrifkan, who is somebody that I've worked with him a lot. We've done a lot of design work together, and we were in a band together, and so we've written a lot of music together. And so I was sending him my songs as I was working on them, and he was giving me some feedback and direction. And so it was really, really helpful. These were two people that I've worked with and known for many years, specifically doing music, and I trust them. And it was really helpful to have them to give me honest, real feedback that really, greatly improved the final product, because, I was open to listening to them, and I didn't want to, being such an involved project, I didn't want to end up, too far into it just by myself and not getting a little bit of outside influence, so certainly sometimes I do things just all on my own, but this one I definitely needed that, that sanity check and that help, along the way from them on the project. So
Yeah. That's so cool that you had them, and man, I can't wait to hear it. Like, this is very, very cool. And so we had, we have just a couple more minutes, and we had two more questions that were asked ahead before. The first one is like, what is the exact color code of your orange paint?
that's a good question. You know, I don't know. um, I honestly, I have used it. Digitally, that's easy to figure out, right? Anybody can go grab one of my pictures and see digitally what I use. But as far as paint, I've changed the orange a few times. Usually, when I start a project, I'll test out a few. I might have some orange around, or I might get some new orange, and I'll test it, see if it works with the other colors I have going. So I don't really have a set orange, but it's a good question though.
That question was made by Rear. I don't
Yeah,
know how to
yeah,
say it.
Ryer. Yeah, I say Ryer,
He
but yeah, sure, yeah.
he's with us, listening now. And the other question we have, like, that one is, I think that one can start like a whole new conversation, but I'll say it anyways. It was from Rebel, so he sent us, what do you think is the biggest threat to Bitcoin art galleries?
Oh, wow. The biggest threat to Bitcoin art galleries. Well, I mean, we're just talking about Ryer. Last year his artwork was stolen
Oh,
from the art gallery in Miami at the conference, which was just a travesty. And that was terrible. I don't know. I don't know what the biggest. I'd have to think about that really. But certainly, like any art gallery, there is a threat from various things. Can happen. People can throw
yeah.
soup on a painting, or people can break in and steal art. People could have forgeries or what have you. Um, so I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but it's certainly a concern. Is the safety of art. In any capacity, whether it's Bitcoin art or otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think about, like, yeah, in regular galleries also, that's I think a problem that might happen. But in Bitcoin galleries, I would say, I don't know if like it's like the biggest threat, but maybe a challenge would be like to, maybe, I don't know, like, I would like to see exhibitions that are prepared for that exhibition, like for that place. Like, for example, a group of artists, like maybe working on the same theme, or like those kind of things. I think that you can see in like the maybe fiat world art. It's one of the things I don't like a lot of things about the fiat world art, but that's one of the things that I I think could be, I don't know, nice, maybe challenging.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I do like the idea of obviously having a similar goal, working together. I mean, that's one of the great things about these the conferences when they have the art gallery, the Bitcoin art gallery, right? Having all this artwork about and inspired by Bitcoin, all together. It's really inspiring. I really love it. It's one of the things that amazes me because I used to go to some freedom festivals up here in New Hampshire in the U.S. And the one thing that always kind of bothered me a little bit was that there wasn't enough. It didn't feel enough culture. Like there was a little bit of art, but not much. And now that there's Bitcoin conferences and they include these art galleries, I just think it's wonderful. I think it's amazing, and they've also include music at some of them, which is great too. So I love that because it makes sense. Bitcoin is about freedom. And so that is inspiring. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So, guys, we have reached our our time. Marcus, thank you so much. I don't want to steal more of your time. Thank you to everyone who joined us. And hey, last words. Yeah, where can people find you and all of that?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, find me here on X, as we call it now, right? And bitcoincoaster.com. And there's one other thing that I wanted to mention. This was actually made public on another show at one point, so I feel safe saying it. But yeah, I did the artwork for the new issue of Bitcoin Magazine, the front cover artwork. So the halving issue, which is coming out very, very shortly, is my artwork. So I'm excited about that as well.
Congrats. I didn't know about that. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was. They did. The only reason I feel safe to say it is because they themselves spilled the beans on one of their own broadcasts. So real excited about that. I've kept quiet about it, but I'm telling you right now. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, thank you so much because you have revealed so many secrets on these spaces today. So I appreciate that.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming here, for being here, for all your work, like all these years. I'm a huge fan of your work. And I hope, yeah, we will see each other in Nashville. So that will be
Yeah.
very cool.
I look
Thank you.
forward to it. I'm a big fan of yours as well. You know that, and it's great to see lots of friends in here. Um, Thanks for the chat. It was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and go have an amazing creative week. Bye bye.